Oh, Mr. Sun, Sun, Mr. Golden Sun, please shine down on me. I didn't know everything that being a single mom entailed. Having to figure out how to afford childcare, how to work full-time, how to, just balance life.
We met. A year later, I proposed to him. And then a month after that, he enlisted in the military. And then 2 weeks after that, we bought the house. And then we found out we were pregnant. And it was like bam, 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 bam. And it didn't stop.
Yeah, it still hasn't stopped.
Bubble gum in a dish. How many pieces?
I have 3 kids. They're all under the age of 8. So I work 3 jobs just to make ends meet.
Experts say energy bills shouldn't exceed 6% of income.
Okay, you guys ready?
Most Americans spend 3.5%, but for many, that number is more like 20 to 50%.
It's due on the 3rd.
Approximately 30% of our income go towards our energy bill.
Inefficient heating and cooling, lack of weatherization, and older appliances add to the burden.
In 20 days, I'll be out of a job.
I'm scared of how we're going to support a family of 4. This is a new one.
I would say rent, utilities, and food.
Well, I think the 4th expense would be kids.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Towards the end of my pregnancy, I lost my job, so I had no income. So I'm in an energy assistance program.
There you go.
It's still hard to afford, but it's made it a lot more affordable than if I wasn't in the program.
Ready to go outside, Bodhi? My biggest fear when it comes to getting our energy bill that might be outrageous is how will we be able to afford it? We just have to take money maybe out of groceries and then allocate that towards our bills.
Being in a basement-style apartment, I found out that the insulation here isn't that great, so I'll put towels up against the windows and under the doors just to make sure it stays insulated in here.
Thank you, Dad.
There's days it's colder inside than it is outside.
Big kisses.
The success that everybody around you has, you want that too, but the struggle is real, like, we have it hard.
This year, Nest is launching a 5-year commitment to lighten the energy burden. By working with partners to make 1 million energy and money-saving smart thermostats available to homes in need, and every new Habitat for Humanity home built in the U.S. this year. And by raising awareness, matching donations, and providing relief. So that every family can have light in the dark and heat in the cold. Learn about the energy burden in your neighborhood at nest.com/powerproject.
Hello and welcome to this week's show. Well, from our recent trip to the US to attend the Inman Connect conference in New York, I can say that interest in how real estate is marketed in Australia and New Zealand is very, very high. We now have a huge following from all of our shows in the USA, and particularly anything that deals with marketing and auction. And that's why I was particularly interested in the auction being conducted in Australia, where bidders are going to be able to make payments for what is a luxurious 841 square metre property located in Casuarina, New South Wales, in both Bitcoin and I think it's Binance, another coin. I don't know what it is. Anyway, we'll find out. The bidding's going to begin at 11 o'clock this Saturday. James Pratt is the CEO for the James Pratt Auction Group, and he, in fact, will be the auctioneer. G'day, James.
Kevin, thanks very much for having a chat again.
Good. What's it called? Bitcoin and Binance, is it?
Bitcoin and Binance Coin.
Binance. Okay, good. Got it correct. So how did you get caught up in this one, mate? What drew you to doing a cryptocurrency auction?
Well, I mean, where it all sort of eventuated is I was over in the US and took a quick trip to Vancouver. Very good friend of mine, Lisa's son. She's a very well-established realtor over there. She said, look, I'm going to connect you with New Yen, which is a blockchain group. And then from there, it sort of pieced back. They have a property in Australia that needed to be auctioned. And the pieces all fell into place. But I think I'll tell you the one thing I took away from that is just the fact that when you're over in Vancouver and that sort of cryptocurrency space is quite progressive, They weren't talking about it like a pipe dream or this would be a fun experiment. They were talking about it like, look, we've got the technology. We just have another piece, which is we don't understand the auction side.
Yeah, cryptocurrency, I want to ask you about how that's going to work. We'll get into that in just a moment. But just on that point about response, what sort of response have you had from buyers so far? And is it more from overseas than it is from Australia?
You know, it's been a mixed bag. There's been quite a few people in Australia that have come out that I would say wouldn't have come out for a regular auction because they've got cryptocurrency sitting there. They don't know what to do with it. But then there has been like a steady increase. Probably the most common is either China or the USA, where we're seeing the most overseas buys. But from right around the world, it's a positive response. Industry-wise, I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of pushback from, you know, the old sort of setup establishment. But I think in all, it's been really positive. And it's obviously one of those things where people have an interest because they have a vested interest rather than just curiosity.
I'm going to take a look at a video now that James has allowed us to use. It's on YouTube. But it just gives you a rundown on the property itself and how the bidding is going to work. We'll just go to that video now, then we'll come back and have a talk to you about how people are reacting to it, James. So let's go with that video.
Yep. I'm James Pratt. Join us on April the 8th for a world first in real estate. Set here in Australia, we're going to hold the very first live cryptocurrency real estate auction with a live auctioneer taking bids on the house. Now, how this is going to work, James Pratt Auctions will be handling the auction. Listing agent Nick Weatherith, who's going to join me here, he's handling the campaign leading up to the auction. Nick, tell us a little bit about the property.
Thanks, James. I'm very, very excited to present this home to market via auction. The striking new residence sets new benchmarks for design excellence and ultimate livability. I'd be so pleased to bring you through for a look, so contact either of us today.
Now, once we've had the auction, how do you actually pay in cryptocurrency? So this is introducing world first technology in the real estate space designed for cryptocurrency, Nuyen. Now, with me from Nuyen, we have the president and the vice president, Greg and Ryan, just to tell us a little bit about the process to expect post-auction.
Great, thank you, James. Nuyen Blockchain Corporation is really excited and proud to be hosting this world-first live Bitcoin property auction held at this prestigious home on April 8th at 11 a.m. One of Nuyen's pillars is its internal trading desk for institutional products and services, OTC transactions, and indeed luxury asset sales such as this. Once the sale has been completed, Nuyen's internal and secure exchange will then be responsible for facilitating the liquidation of the coins themselves and of course releasing them back to the market. We're really excited about this opportunity.
At Nuyen, we're a vertically integrated company where we mine, produce and facilitate gateways for cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin to be used. It is quite exciting to be part of and creating the future of borderless transactions with properties.
So join us on April 8th. This is going to be the first time in the world accepting cryptocurrencies such as Binance Coin and Bitcoin. And with a live auctioneer is taking place. We can't wait to see you on April the 8th. Thank you very much. On behalf of everyone, we look forward to you watching.
Yeah, it's a really interesting situation, James. Is Australia ready for cryptocurrency in real estate?
You know, I think yes. The obvious answer is yes. Australia does things very, very well. And you sort of hit on it before in your intro when you were talking about, I think we do auctions extremely well. So for a country like the US who doesn't do auctions, they can certainly learn from us in that aspect. We learn from them in a lot of other things. So I think if we've already got this already established process, let's say the auction process, I think we should be adding to it. That's not saying we're taking away from the mainstream way of selling a property in Australia. I think it's just basically adding another branch to the tree, just adding another aspect. You can buy and transact real estate, which may capture another buyer or suit a vendor better.
Is anyone who doesn't have cryptocurrency going to be able to bid?
Yeah, so how it's going to work is obviously the auction's going to be called in Bitcoin, but there'll be a screen on the background, which is going to be converting the Bitcoin into AUD and US dollars. So you can see obviously what the Bitcoin what's it going to be calculated to on the day. How that'll work is, look, if you do have cash, and you don't have Bitcoin, but it's up to, say, 500 Bitcoin, and that converts to, $2 million, and you've got $2 million cash, there's an opportunity for you to buy it in the Bitcoin and have that straight away converted to cash, so that your deposit is technically cash. You've bid in Bitcoin, but you can see obviously the exchange on the day, what it is and what it goes up to. The other option there, of course, if someone's bidding in Bitcoin, of course, they can see how much they're getting for value on the day, because the screen's going to show AUD and USD value as well.
Does Bitcoin value move much, like minute by minute?
It's going to be updated, refreshed as quick as we can get it. That's going to be the main aim, if we can update it as quick as possible. But generally speaking, it's not going to change too much minute by minute, unless some huge event happens in the world. But it'll be right up as far as we can get it on the day.
Let's talk about settlement for a moment. Is it going to be settled in Bitcoin, or will it be settled as a normal transaction with AUD?
That's a really, really good question. So how we've set up the post-auction part of it is really giving the buyer a couple of choices which will make it most easy for them. Probably the common way that we're going to try and look to do it is you buy it in Bitcoin. So let's say you buy it in 800 Bitcoin. It's going to be a 4% deposit. So automatically it's more convenient than a 5% or the regular 10% you see. So it's a less of a deposit. That deposit is then going to be straight away converted into cash, and that cash is going to sit in the trust account. So basically, you buy in Bitcoin, it's converted to cash on the exchange, and then come settlement, you've got the rest of that time to obviously pay that into Bitcoin. Now, if the purchase is, listen, I want to buy the whole property now, I want to pay the 800 Bitcoin, and I don't want the standard 6-week settlement. I can transfer this now and it's done today. We're giving the person the opportunity to talk with the vendor who said, I'm open to a shorter settlement, and seeing if we can work on common ground to get away from the 42 standard day settlement period and look to getting as short as we can. So there's a few moving pieces, but the end goal here with why we've got the moving pieces is we want to have options for that buyer. So it's not, I've got a 42-day settlement period, 10% deposit, and that is it. You can't change that. It's, if you buy in Bitcoin, we can obviously look for a shorter settlement, because the great thing about obviously transferring and having a settlement in Bitcoin is that if you're coming from overseas, you don't have that longer transfer cost, you don't have the longer transfer fee time, all of that. It makes it a little bit more user-friendly.
Yeah, because that's one of the big benefits of cryptocurrency. With blockchain transactions, they're nice and secure, and they can actually happen very quickly. So it's good to see that they. What's the difficulty, though, with setting your own settlement time frame? Because is it all to do with the title?
Yeah, so we have a contract at the moment, and we've kept the standard 6-week settlement. So on the contract, it's 6 weeks. But what we're telling the registered parties is that the owner is willing to look at a shorter settlement if that's going to work for you. I mean, some people, for example, an overseas buyer who says, look, I'm not going to be in Australia for another 2 months. I'm happy with a 6-week settlement. That works for them. But we're making them aware that we're transacting in Bitcoin, which will be paid into cash. So that's all going to come up fine. But we're making them aware that, look, because we have that Bitcoin, we have that easy transaction, the owner's open to a shorter settlement, and you can be as well if that works for you.
Are there any particular houses or properties that Bitcoin work best for? And I would think that this property, as you would have seen from the video we played earlier, is a very upmarket property. Does it work better for that style, do you think, James?
Well, it's really interesting you say that, because I work with a couple of really good brokers in Los Angeles, and one of them from Hilton Highland, he was telling me that, and they do, anyone that knows Hilton Highland, they do I would put the, sub $5 to $100 million properties. He was telling me about a week ago, he said, it's really interesting what you're doing, because we're seeing a huge increase in 2019 of people coming to us saying, will the owner look at a Bitcoin? And he said the big thing over there is that if they're willing to look at spending Bitcoin in a, $30, $40 million property, chances are it's going to work for all the tiers down, such as, if the highest hanging fruit works, it'll work for the lowest hanging fruit. It's not we're starting at the bottom. But I will make one point that I found during the process with this is that a lot of development companies are coming out and they're saying this will work great for us, A, because we're working on mass volume, and B, because a lot of our clientele, if they're overseas, they're looking for an investment property, they may never live in the property, they're just interested in how they can do an easy transaction. This could be something that suits them in the future.
Well, we're all going to be watching with interest, James. No doubt you'd probably be a little bit nervous about how it's all going to go as well.
Pieces, yeah.
I mean, everything relies on this technology, not just, streaming the video or streaming the auction live, but how it's all going to be transacted. So we'll watch it with great interest, my friend, and congratulations on what you're doing, James. Well done.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Really appreciate being on the show again.
Let me try again. Ready? Go. Sorry, bro. Think of all we had before.
Oh, let's get a group photo.
Let me
Ready?
try once more. Oh, I did not get that.
Hi, I'm Steve Pizzardi and I'm Audi's Chief Driving Instructor. Today we're talking about the Audi Sport range. Let's go for a drive. Audi Sport has a long and rich history. It used to be known as RS, literally German for race sport. And they've set world land speed records, they completely revolutionised rallying, and they've completely dominated endurance racing. Audi Sport have been associated with some absolutely legendary names in the sport. Names like Bernd Rosemeyer and Walter Röhrl, Tom Christensen, multi Le Mans winner, and even Michelle Mouton, who was famously known as the world's fastest woman. She nearly won the World Rally Championship, just a point off. There's no one ingredient to motorsport success. You need world-class engineers, you need world-class engineering, you need a bunch of passionate people that have nothing on their mind other than succeeding at the highest levels of motorsport. Audi Sport has had all of those things, but it's also had one ace up its very sculpted German sleeve, and that's always been Quattro. Born in the early 80s, Quattro, the world's best all-wheel drive system, first revolutionised and then completely dominated rallying. More grip means more acceleration, of course. It seems like a no-brainer now, but back in the day, it was still up for debate whether there was actually an advantage in motorsport. The Audi Sport range has a really broad cross-section of cars. You've got the RS3, the compact street fighter, the RS4, the icon in many ways, the RS5, that's the scalpel of the range, the RS6, the Continent Crusher, and then the RS7, that's a Continent Crusher that's had a haircut, and there's also the TTRS, a completely unique car. No one else in the world has got a straight 5-cylinder turbocharged engine, Quattro all-wheel drive, low and wide as that. There's even the RSQ3, the car that brings Audi Sport DNA to the SUV range. And of course, the halo of the entire Audi Sport range, the R8. As soon as you start driving an R8, you can immediately feel the motorsport technology that's gone into that car. And it makes perfect sense because over 50% of the componentry in the R8 is actually shared with the R8 LMS race car that's won at Nürburgring and Bathurst. And actually the R8 LMS is still being actively campaigned in GT series all across the world. It's actually now the most successful GT car in history. It's had more victories than any other brand. Audi Sport's motto is born on the track, built for the road. And as soon as you get in one and you drive one passionately fast, it becomes very apparent. They're just alive. So whether you're a motorsport enthusiast or someone that's passionate about driving fast cars, or someone that loves the technical aspect of cars and the engineering behind it, there's a car for everybody in the Audi Sport range.